What is up, everybody? You can tell by my intro, it's a box day. It's a crazy, one hell of a box day. I'm here to do a review of this. It's not a figure, it's a statue. But it's a crazy, crazy good statue. Behold the Kong Skull Island 2017 Kong versus the Skull Crawler, aka Ramarak, from Prime One Studios. And I bought this through Sideshow Collectibles, and they offered a payment plan because this was plus $1,000 in cost. But I did the payment plan and made monthly payments for just about a year. And it got down to where it came out earlier than originally anticipated. It came out just here in July. And I paid for it like 2 weeks ago. They told me they could ship it on the 10th. But they didn't ship it actually till 2 weeks later. And I was conversating with them because I was understanding by the email was if I paid on the 9th, they would ship it on the 10th. And I paid on the 9th, but they didn't ship it until the 24th. But I was conversating with them the last week there because I was under the understanding that, it would ship. But they finally got it shipped, and oh my God, you can't even believe this thing. Of course, this is from the movie Kong Skull Island 2017, and it signifies the scene at the end in the final battle with the big one, which is Ramarak in the film. And it's just a really, really highly detailed piece. And I do consider it a statue, and the reason I consider it a statue is most vinyl figures, X Plus figures, they have minimal to no assembly. I mean, even like sometimes you get an X Plus figure, no assembly. The most assembly you have on an X Plus figure is a tail usually. But this thing came in 12, 14 pieces, little pieces that you had to assemble onto it. So I definitely consider it a statue, but not a figure. But it's really, really awesome. For instance, these little posts, the high post here, they all come out. And this strip here, I believe, is magnetized. I'm not sure though, but I think it is, because you can feel it stick when you put it in. But it's really cool. Okay, let's, like I said, this is from the scene in the movie at the end when he's fighting Ramarak in the final battle. And there's a panned up shot of them fighting, and they're in this battle position right here. So to me, that's what this signifies. Okay, as far as this statue goes, like I said, there was some assembly. All these high posts on the base. Plus this is a base. It came in 2 boxes. There was a box for the base itself. The base is polystone. Then there was a box for the figure. Kong is polystone. The Ramarak is vinyl. So, but the base, I've opened it first, put it all together. Basically, the splash here, the high posts on the wall. To me, this signifies the wall in the movie. The base all the way around. If you remember the wooden wall that they had, it looks just like it, so that's what that signifies to me. But as far as the base goes, it's really nicely detailed. If you look at it all the way around, it's got some good details. As far as on the base itself, there's a lot of details there that are awesome. There is a half shipwrecked ship sticking up out of the mud here on the back. It has broken rail and everything. Actually, the rail is pretty fragile, and it does come off. Just came off on me just now. I will fix that later. But the rail, the ship has green moss on it and everything. It's really detailed as far as its details with the ship. There's green moss effects on it. It's really nicely done. On here on the ground, you will see a piece of a log over here by his left foot, and then another piece here by his right foot by the propeller. I'm pretty sure that is the log, signifies the log that, or the tree that Kong hit Ramarak with in the film. Because this part here was post that scene in the movie. And I think that's what that signifies, because this is broken in half. Because it looks like both halves of that are meant to go together, and I think that's what it is. This signifies the tree that he pulled out of the ground and hit the Skullcrawler with, which is really cool. Over here in front of him, there is the propeller engine, and then the chain that goes from the propeller up to his arm and hand, and that was all disassembled. I had to put it all together. The only piece of chain that was on it was on the fist, which the fist I had to install. That piece of chain is already attached to the fist, but all the rest of the chain and the propeller I had to put together. The propeller, the smallest blade on the propeller, it was broken when I got it, but luckily I got it glued back on, and so far it's so good, it's staying on there. But the whole base is really detailed. Like I said, in the front here, there's like a water effect, and then there in the back there's a mud effect where the ship is sticking out of the mud. It's really, really, really detailed. Nicely done base. Like I said, it's polystone, so it is very heavy. Now, as far as the figures themselves, his left foot is stomped into the mud and water, and there's a splash effect in front of his foot, and that is, I had to insert that into the base. His foot is actually not there. You only see what you see. The rest of it underneath is a peg, a notch with a peg in it, and it fits down into the base, and that's how he stands. So really his foot is what you see there. The rest of it underneath is just that notch, a notch with a peg in it, and it goes down into the base and holds him stable, and he's really stable actually. His other foot is out and exposed, and it's nicely done. It's got nice black toes and everything, and then fur on his foot. The whole body, by the way, has got fur and fuzz on it, and it's really, it's a nice detail I didn't know it was going to have, but I didn't realize it, but it's really, really nicely done. I mean, he looks hairy and furry, you'll see by my pics, and that's why, because he's got fuzz and fur details all over where he's supposed to have hair, and it's really cool they did that. But his legs are nice and big and chunky and look really meaty and thick, like muscular wise. On his right leg, as you will see, the tail of the crawler that wraps around his leg and up his back and then up. He's very muscular here and thick in the midsection and everything. Kong, and like I said, you can see all the fur detail. The fur and the fuzz on it is just pretty cool. Of course, on his chest, it's all the fur and hair detail, it's all pretty much a darkish brown. On his chest, it's more of a dark gray, blackish, his skin tone. And he has the 3 scars signified on his chest, like in the movie, like on the X Plus figure. They're there. Nice chest detail, nice musculature to him. On his back of his legs are nice and thick and broad. Very muscular looking Kong, which he was in the movie. And I just noticed this on his back right here. There are 3 scrapes, like the crawler had just scratched him. I just didn't notice it. That's awesome. Right here on his shoulder area, there's 3 scratches. And his back is very muscular looking, very physical looking, of course. His arm up here that holds up the crawler, his hand is on its neck. There's nice fur details on his at the bottom of his base of his fingers. Nice fur detail on the forearm and on the bottom of the forearm. Nice fur detail on the whole arm. On his other hand and arm, he is holding the chain, and it's clenched in his hand. And you can also see in this hand is the scars from when he first fought the military. In the beginning, there's red cuts and scars, red exposed cuts on his hand there. That's pretty cool. They did that. They put that on there, and his left arm is, his right arm is down to his side, and he's clenched fist like he's getting ready to punch the skull crawler. Of course, the fur detail is all there, all up and down his arm, from his chest, from his shoulder all the way. You can feel it when you touch it. You can feel it. It's just really cool how they did it. Of course, his head, we got some fur details all the way around. His head just pushes on. It goes right on. That's with his right hand. It was off and it had to be attached. The fur details are amazing, but like even on this hand, I had to attach at the base of the fingers, like on his left hand up here. Just fur details like crazy. You can see down here as well, the fur sticking down off his arm. It's just really cool. The hair, it's just a nice touch and detail I thought they did to it. As far as his head, he's looking up, of course, and roaring, mouth wide open. His eyes are really orangish color, I think, if I recall. They're really nicely done, though. Yeah, his eyes are like orangish, reddish color, like he's really mad. But of course, he's in a deep battle right here in the scene. So, but of course, the fur detail is all on his face, on his head, on his neck there, on his chin. There's a nice little fur patch. I mean, it's just amazing how they did the fur. He doesn't look that shiny except for on his chest there, exposed skin. The rest of him and his toes and stuff and his fingers, but everything else, it looks dull. But the reason it looks dull is it's fur. It's actual hair and fur on him. It's pretty cool. And then he's got a really intense look on his face, full in battle mode, and nicely done. His mouth is all nice pinkish color. His tongue is nicely sculpted, all teeth individually sculpted. There's even some black around some of the edges of the teeth to signify some of his age, probably. It's just really nicely done. Full roar mode on his screaming at the crawler, so to speak. But it's really nicely done, the whole thing, head to toe. As far as the skull crawler, it's really cool. Like I said, on his back here, I just did notice that there's 3 scrapes signifying that he had just scratched him. That's really cool. But he's reaching down with either leg, tacking Kong. Really nice long nails on both of his legs or arms, whichever way. Of course, he's got the big spikes at the end by his elbow area, signifying that he was the only one in the film that had these. The big one, Ramarak, if I recall, he's the only crawler in the movie that had those big spikes. But as far as his details, he's got his mouth open. There's very nice details in his mouth, and his tongue is nicely sculpted. Looks nice and moist and red. Nice paint application. They put some kind of a shiny material on there because his whole inside of his mouth is all shiny and wet, moist looking. So that's really cool. But he's nicely done. Nice darkish gray tone on most of his body, and then lighter gray tones where the bony parts of him is. It's really done nicely well. I think of my custom skull crawler, and Mark Sang-Ying did a good job with that thing because it's very comparable to this thing. In some aspects, I think his custom is even better, but it's one single figure compared to a combination sculpt here. So this is rather well done, and I think it's movie accurate to the scene. But nice skin textures on the skull crawler, wrinkles in the skin and stuff. One thing I don't see on the skull crawler is, if you watch the movie, and I said this in my video for the giant custom crawler I have, he had dotted textures on the skin, like dotted texture sticking out of his skin, like pimples like, and you could see it in the film if you watch the film, especially when he goes up to the soldier and knocks him into the wall. He has grenades in his hand and kills him. You can see all the dotted textures in his arms and his upper arms and his chest and stuff. I don't see them dotted textures on this, but on Mark's crawler he got me, those dotted textures are there, so I don't quite see it on this. But otherwise, this is really spot on, I think, coloring wise and sculpt wise and everything. But those dotted textures are on the skull, are on Ramorak in the film if you watch it. I don't quite see it on this. I see a couple though, little dotty spots, but not like it was in the film. Alright, but this is a really cool design and epic part and scene of the movie, and I really am happy with this thing. Can't be less happier or any way disappointed with it. I'm glad I got it. Alright, I'll go on to some size comparisons, and we'll do that right away. Alright everybody, I'm back. Got my Prime 1 Kong statue versus the skull crawler, and here is the X Plus Gigantic Series standard version of Shin Godzilla. Now this Kong combination sculpt is huge, but you can tell, anybody that's got the Shin can tell. I did measure it up to its highest point on its back. It's between 31 and 32 inches tall, so definitely a big statue. It's got weight to it too. It's a good 50 pounds, so definitely a hefty piece. But I just wanted to show the sizing and everything, and it's really a big statue, and no wonder it costed what it did. So, but it's definitely got weight to it, and details abound on it. So we'll go on to another size comparison. Let's do that right away. I'm back, everybody. I've brought forth the X Plus Gigantic Series Rick Godzilla 1989 to size comparison with the Prime 1 Kong statue, Kong versus Ramorak, I call it. But this is the tallest X Plus Gigantic. You can see it's quite a bit shorter than this whole deal here. Plus this is an inch taller than it would be with, I got it on the spin table, so, but yeah. You can see definitely the size. This is the tallest thing in my collection, but it's not the tallest figure, because I consider this a combination. Single figure, my big custom Kong is still going to be taller overall, I think. Alright, let's go move on to another size comparison right away. Alright, of course, we got Kong. I have to have the Godzilla that fought Kong. This is the X Plus Godzilla 1962 Gigantic Standard Edition. It's funny taking the pictures, comparison pictures I'm posting in this video. My aspect ratio had to be so far back just to get all of the skull crawler in because of the height of this thing, so it was interesting. They look cool together. Alright, let's do two more size comparisons. Let's go right to that right now. Alright, Gamera's in the house. Both Prime 1 pieces I have in my collection here. This is the Gamera 1991 Prime 1, released a month or so ago, with my Prime 1 Kong versus Ramarak. These two pieces have sold me on Prime 1, I'm pretty sure, I would say, because these are both definitely awesome a figure and statue, because I do consider this to be a statue with all the assembly and everything required. So this is a vinyl figure, this is a polystone statue. So when I do my figures of the year, I won't include this because this is a statue and not a figure, but if it was included, it would be a severe contender. Alright, let's do one more size comparison and we'll bring in my big custom Kong for this final size comparison. And let's do that right now. Alright everybody, I'm back. Final size comparison is my Prime 1 Kong and Ramarak statue with my custom Kong 2017 made by Mark Sang Yang. This Kong here is basically 24 inches tall, to put perspective on the whole deal. He's 24 inches tall, so the biggest figure in my collection. You see there's about 8 inches from the top of his head to the top of the Ramarak, so it's really quite impressive, this statue. They look good together. Made of the same cloth. Kong 2017. Next year we get Kong and Godzilla in an epic battle, which will be awesome. Alright, we'll move on to my final thoughts and close out on my video, and we'll do that right away. Alright everybody, my final thoughts are, this is an amazing sculpt, amazing design, amazing scene in the movie, and what's really cool about it, what surprised me, was the fur. The fur is all, it's fur and fuzz and hair, and that's really cool. That's why he doesn't look shiny like your polystone figure might, because where he has hair, it's actual fuzz and fur on him, so it's pretty cool. And I highly recommend this, but I realize it's very expensive. It was plus $1,000 with shipping. But like I said, I did do the payment plan, paid on it for almost a year, and then did the final payment with the shipping cost, and they got it to me eventually. Took them a minute, but they got it to me, and I don't regret buying this. It's a great addition if you're a King Kong fan, or a kaiju fan in general, because these are kaiju. Kong's an American kaiju. This is an American kaiju, the skull crawler. Would highly recommend it. It's a great piece, great addition, heavy, solid, bigger. Pardon me. I'm sold on Prime 1. They do a masterful job, and I really do love this sculpt. I'll do a closeout now on the video, bring the camera close and do a good, long, nice, detailed video of a close-up of this thing. I want to thank everybody. Thank you for your time and patience and watching my videos, and hope you appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that tunes in. This is Phil, the Kaiju King, from my collection room in Greater Cincinnati. I will talk to y'all later, and y'all have a good day.